Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Mark here with the Better Mark. Let's get into the afternoon slate within college football. We're going to give you guys three best bets. This is how I do it here on the channel, so welcome to TBM. We do have a noon show as well as a 3:30 and then a primetime little slot where we talk about some of the marquee games into the evening. And they'll be kind of a little spaced out a little bit too, so you guys make sure you get it by turning on that notification bell right down there at YouTube. Make sure you subscribe as well. X, Discord, also great platforms where they're totally free picks. Make sure you follow me there. And if you want to become a channel member and join the TBM team here, there is a link down below for that as well. Okay, but let's get into it. Let's talk about what's going on within the odds jam. We're going to break down each of these games. Like I said, I'll have three best bets. I'm going to talk about some of the games along the way, give you guys my take, my analysis, and my leans. And that first game that we're going to get into will be Texas A&M and Florida. So some people think it's Billy Napier's last game in Gainesville if he does get a loss at home. And this is one where, quite frankly, I don't think that they know exactly where to put the number. And if you do want to play a little arbitrage spot here, and you do watch this video early, you could get into the likes of taking A&M minus 2.5, as well as taking the +4 for Florida and hoping for this game to be determined by a field goal. And then, Texas A&M gets it done by 3 or 4. You end up cashing with some insurance as well. So that's one way to play it. I just think that Florida kind of is cooked. I think that Texas A&M is coming into form. Mike Elko taking some time here back in College Station. Coming off that loss against Notre Dame, it's kind of looking like a bad loss after what happened with Northern Illinois. But let's tap the brakes. It's early in the season. That was a dead trap game. I do not believe in Notre Dame in terms of the long-term prospectus of winning a national championship. But are they a team that's bad enough to lose Northern Illinois? Yes, it happened. We'll call a spade. But I think for the duration of the season, let's just kind of not overreact. That's kind of where I'm going to say tap the brakes on that one, and let's talk about that a little later on. But for this game, I do like taking Texas A&M minus 2.5 in Gainesville, taking that at FanDuel. It is kind of a make it or break it moment for Florida, so desperation will be there. I just don't think they have it. I don't think they have it in the cards, so I would lean heavy on A&M. I just don't like both sides of this equation, so I'm going to stay away from it. Now, a game I almost bet, it's kind of what we saw last week, right? We saw a little hangover from the from the little MACtion action, where a lot of the MAC schools did well. We saw Bowling Green almost upset Penn State, and this is a spot against the Hurricanes where I think Ball State could catch them sleeping. Now, what I mean by that is they're still going to get the brakes beat off of them, but I do like for Miami just not so much at 36-37. That's just way big of a number. You saw what Ohio State was able to do. I believe it was Western Michigan. You saw what Northern Illinois, conversely, was able to do Notre Dame last week. So there is kind of that school of thought where just play the big number, take Ball State, but I think the Hurricanes get it done. I think Cam Ward's the real deal, very much strongly in consideration for Heisman. One of my picks as well as Gianti, Ashton Jeanty, or however you pronounce it, from Boise State. Really hope that one comes home. I was able to snag that at 70-1, so I'm going to be a Boise State Bronco watching the blue field for the duration of this season. Maybe he can sniff Barry Sanders' record for touchdowns and then obviously get into that equation where he joins the likes of Derrick Henry and some of the other running backs that have got the job done in the Heisman candidacy. But I think it's been 3 guys since 2020, so that's kind of why the odds are there. It's been kind of predominantly a quarterback award, but let's keep it going. Let's keep it moving. That's just 2 of the games that we're going to talk about. And it is kind of a dull week for college football, but we do have a couple games that I want to, they're rivalry games. We got West Virginia, Pittsburgh. We got Oregon State, Washington State, just to name a few. So it is going to be kind of an action-packed Saturday. One of the other games I want to talk about is Tulane and Oklahoma, okay? This is one where I do like Tulane in this spot, right? 13.5. We've seen some line movement down a little bit. If I could grab a 14 with Tulane, that's almost an auto bet for me. So if I do see a 14 flash, I am gonna get on that. A lot of uncertainty with Oklahoma in terms of their offense and who's healthy, who's not. They are at home, but I think Tulane keeps this one close. Maybe a little first half play with Tulane. It's a number where I'm confident. If we do get a 14, I'm going to jump on that. But at 13.5, that is a no play for me. But that is a strong kind of teaser leg if you guys dabble into that. Okay, I know it's not good to tease college football, but I do like the Tulane Green Wave on the road taking on OU. So that's kind of where I'm at with that one. Oregon State, that's another game where we're going to talk about Oregon Ducks kind of being one of the most underwhelming teams to start off the season. Absent Bo Nix, what have we had? We have a team that Vegas still firmly believes in them. If you look at the odds board for the futures market, Oregon's still firmly a contender for take home the hardware here in the national championship in the CFP. But this is one where you look at Oregon State. It's kind of interesting here. The 17.5 staring you dead in the face. I think this is a big number, 49. I think 49.5. I technically would lend towards the under in this spot. For some reason, Oregon is struggling to score the football, and it's just a weird spot where Oregon has to go on the road. It's tough to play in Corvallis. So this 3:30 kickoff, it's going to be 12:30 on the West Coast. It's kind of a weird spot where Oregon really has a tough road to hoe. We can look in kind of some of their numbers here, and I won't pull up their schedule because I think it is relevant to this discussion. All right, will we get a look ahead? Will we get kind of a all hands on deck for this rivalry game? Oregon is kind of the team where Vegas continues to lay it, right? It's a sharper side. It was the first 2 weeks, but they're 0-2 against the spread. The Oregon plus 17 staring you dead in the face. The Civil War game, this is a big one. It's going to be a fun one to watch because I really want to get a really good feel on Dan Lanning's team 3 weeks into the season. So I'm going to be watching this game. They should have lost to Boise State, winning by a second field goal, and then obviously the kind of shocker week 1 against Idaho, winning 24-14, where that was a legitimate scare. Okay, but both of these both of these teams in their 4 games that they've played collectively 3-1 to the under. I think Oregon State gets this one done a little bit better. I think we see a better defensive mindset here. This strong lean for me would be under the 49.5. If you want to get a juiced up 50, take it. But I do like the under in Oregon State, just not an official play. Okay, and then now let's get into the first bet I will have on this card. This will be West Virginia and Pittsburgh, and this is a game where we look into it and talk about it. It's a tale of 2 different teams. Okay, West Virginia, this is a rivalry game. And for those of you that have not been to this game, everybody talks about Georgia, Florida, the world's largest tailgate party. This is a game that you have to go to, especially when it's in Morgantown. But this game will be played at Heinz Field, whatever they call it now, but it'll all be Heinz Field for me. But I do look to this game, and I see a little bit of a value on West Virginia. On Pittsburgh. I scooped them up at plus 1.5. Right now, the number's at plus 2.5. That's the best number available at FanDuel. I just think this is a good spot for Pittsburgh. I like what Pat Narduzzi is going to come in with. I think that you could look at this game from a perspective where it's going to be Pittsburgh running the football and playing stout defense. And I think that West Virginia, they look to have a really good kind of air attack. We're seeing a lot of the money kind of flow onto that Pitt money line. I'm not going to get too big of it, but I think this is something where we look what Pittsburgh was able to do. Coming back against Cincinnati last week might be an overreaction. I think that we're going to see a really strong defensive game. The under has been bought down from 64.5. Now it's at 61.5. So there has been some movement with that under. That would be something that I would lean to as well. I think this game at most gets played in the 20s. But for me, I think the side is definitely Pittsburgh. So I'm going to lay the home team here in this rivalry, plus 1.5. Give me points in any rivalry game. That is kind of what I do in terms of a system. So I will take Pittsburgh plus 1.5. I think they control the line of scrimmage. I think they run the football effectively and keep the ball out of West Virginia's hands. And that's where I look for Pittsburgh to win this game at home. But I'll take the 1.5 just to kind of make it a little bit of a cushion in case we get some kind of weird, 21-20 victory for West Virginia. But so give me the points with Pittsburgh. Now, I want to talk about it because I have to. I am a Notre Dame fan, but we're going to talk about Notre Dame Purdue, the Battle of Indiana. Okay, so this is a kind of an interesting spot where we look at what's going to be happening here. This is a tough kind of environment here. They're going to be kind of fired up at West Lafayette, and the Boilermakers, they're going to try to boiler up here on the Irish. So plus 8 definitely would be the sharper side. However, I do think Notre Dame does get right in the spot. Marcus Freeman is going to have his guys ready to play. The biggest question for me is Riley Leonard. Can he throw the ball intermediate and deep passing? Now, a little noteworthy tidbit on Riley Leonard. He did win the Manning Academy in terms of passing when I think he was a senior in high school. So going against some stiff competition, I just don't know why he can't do it. Notre Dame a little young at the receiver position, but They're going to look to establish the run game early. I think they're going to go back to the basics. They're going to ground and pound. The offensive line was porous against a Northern Illinois team where, quite frankly, they could have used weaponry and they wouldn't have been able to stop that rushing attack for Northern Illinois. So I do look for the Irish to bounce back. That's something where I'm going to look at them in a teaser leg potentially. I like them straight up. I just don't know if I'm willing to lay the 7.5. But this is one of them spots where I do think they get right. So if you do want to take the Irish minus 7.5, that would be kind of the side I would be on. Okay. Washington State in Washington. Now, this is one that I might end up betting as we get a little closer to kickoff. I don't like the number right here at 6, but if we do get Washington State, which has been pretty much the most impressive team for my liking, I do like Washington State quite a bit. All right, and absent Cam Ward, I do think that we see the Kalen DeBoer leaving Washington being a story. I think Washington State going on the road, getting points in this matchup, I definitely like that. I definitely like the side of the points. +6 is right where they need to have it, okay? So I don't mind the +6, but if you give me a 7 out there, I'm definitely going to be all over Washington State +7 in this spot. So that's kind of my, I would say, out of my 3 best bets, this will be the game that I definitely have the closest to making my card. So I would lend towards the Washington State side in that matchup. Now, let's get into another game where I do have a strong lean. That's Utah State and Utah. I like Utah minus the 17.5. It's just a bad number, okay? If it was minus 17, minus 16.5, I'm taking Utah. But that's something where we look into what's happening with this. You could talk about it. And I think that Cam Rising being bothered by a finger injury, he's expected to play. When he's in the game, Utah can definitely score points. And that's why I like Utah in this spot. It's something where we saw what happened immediately last week, right? Cam Rising and Utah, they scored a ton of points, okay, against Baylor. But once he left the game, they scored 0 points. So if he's healthy, I look for Utah to cover this number. It's a big number. Utah State has only scored 14 points. Has only scored, in the last week, they scored 0 against USC, 36 against Robert Morris. I'm not going to consider that anything. We've seen this total set really low. It's at 44 is the best number out there. So kind of a hedge against Cam Rising being effective or not. Is where you could lend towards the under. But in this matchup, I definitely like the side of Utah as long as Rising is able to play. But because of that uncertainty, I'm not going to bet it officially, but I would lean towards taking Utah if that number gets at 17 or 16.5, okay? Next, let's get into kind of one of the best bets here. This is going to be one where we talk about the likes of Ole Miss and Wake Forest, okay? This is a big spot, okay? And it's something where I am pro Ole Miss. It's one of the teams that I'm very heavy on. We look at kind of what we're able to do with Dave Clawson on Wake Forest. Conversely, they're not able to stop the football. So in specific, this is something where they're not able to stop the passing game. So I think Ole Miss runs rampant. I took the Ole Miss number at minus 20.5. I think Jackson Dart and company firmly grasping Lane Kiffin's system. They score points effectively. I think that they ran through the likes of last week, and I don't even think they put the foot down on the gas pedal. So I do like Ole Miss quite a bit. I think they get this one done, possibly winning by 4 touchdowns and beyond. So give me the Rebels minus 20.5. I just don't see Wake Forest stopping the passing attack of Ole Miss. They're going to struggle with tempo, and it's going to be kind of a aerial onslaught, I think, from kickoff. I look for Ole Miss, hopefully gets the ball first. They take the ball, they go down there, score, and they play that SEC-style defense. They kind of get Wake Forest to stall, and then they just continue to capitalize. I just think that we look at Wake Forest, that's something where they just can't stop points. Both games have gone over in their season debut, and I think that Ole Miss is going to score at will, and I like Ole Miss minus 20.5. That is an official play. All right, and then the last game that we're going to talk about, and I do know that this is something where you have to kind of look into it a little bit deeper, and I'm trying to find on the odds board, which means that it's probably a later kickoff, which that's okay, but this should be a little bit earlier, okay? This will be the likes of Iowa and Troy. Now, this is a 4 o'clock kick, so it should be showing up on the screen. Let me find it here. It's probably up a ways, okay? Yeah, Iowa-Troy. That's where we're going to see 24-point favorite for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Now, where I'm at in this game is I'm taking the under. I took Iowa under 39. You can find a 39.5 if you shop around. I think it's an overreaction on the Hawkeyes. This is a team where, yes, McNamara comes in from the transfer portal. Comes into Iowa, scoring some points, but guys, they haven't scored 40 points yet. They scored 40 against Illinois State. It was 40-0, and against Iowa State, which is a game that always goes towards the under. They went over the 36.5 final number. I'm just going back to the underplays within Iowa, okay? They're going to play great defense at home. I think Troy's going to struggle to score the football, and Troy can play good enough sound defense where I see this game possibly being Iowa getting into the 20s and Troy failing to score 20 points. So give me the under 39. If you can find 39.5, 40, go for it. But my third best bet for this card will be taking the Iowa Hawkeyes and the Troy Trojans under 39. That will be my best bet. Okay, so those are my three best bets. I want to put up the final plays on the screen. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you smash that like button. Please subscribe down below the channel. Appreciate you all. If you want to become a channel member as well and join the TBM family here, there is a link down below for that. I don't charge for picks. Everything here on this platform is free. So if you want to hop on over to the Discord on my X page, feel free to do so. That's a great way to get involved as well. Good luck with your picks, and we'll see you guys all in the next video. Cheers.